Black CEO blocked from front row at Fashion Week. 9 minutes later, she shuts down the show. Hello everyone, before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to the story. You're in the wrong row. The words landed sharp as the click of a stiletto heel. A woman in a gold-gowned publicist or self-proclaimed gatekeeper stood in front of her, one manicured hand resting on the reserved seat tag that read front row, Maison Duclair. Elena Brooks didn't move. She'd been called worse. The runway lights shimmered above her like liquid glass, reflecting off mirrored walls and diamond bracelets. Photographers whispered, perfume filled the air, and somewhere in the back a string quartet drowned under polite laughter. Still, this was the loudest sound in the room, silence laced with judgment. The woman's smile hardened. These seats are for the real guests, not stylists or staff. A ripple went through the first row, half amusement, half curiosity. Elena's dress was black silk minimalist, expensive in a way that never had to announce itself. No logo, no entourage, no attempt to prove worth. "Show me your badge," the PR assistant said again. Cameras flashed. No one wanted to miss a humiliation wrapped in haute couture. Elena looked up, voice steady. "I have an invitation." "Then it must be a mistake," the woman replied, plucking the printed pass from Elena's hand. She didn't even read it before handing it to security. "Please escort her out before the show begins." For a moment, Elena stayed seated, calm, composed. The music swelled as models lined up backstage waiting for the cue. Every year, every city, she'd watched this scene unfold, same tone, different faces. A whisper behind her, "She doesn't look like the type." No one defined what type meant. They never had to. She stood slowly, not to argue, but to observe. The chandeliers above seemed to pulse with judgment, each sparkle another reminder of who they thought belonged here and who didn't. But if they'd looked closer, they might have noticed the subtle earpiece under her hair, the glint of a platinum ring embossed with a crest no ordinary guest would recognize. Not yet. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now back to Elena. As the security guard approached, Elena exhaled once quietly. The show was about to start. They had no idea it was already hers. The violins swelled as the lights dimmed, a hush sliding across the room like silk. The PR woman in the gold gown gestured sharply. "Security, please remove her before the models walk." Two guards stepped forward, black suits glinting under the chandeliers. Cameras pivoted, drawn by tension more than beauty. Every lens loves conflict. Every luxury crowd pretends not to. Elena didn't move. She let the noise wash over her. Inside, she was cataloging everything, the tone, the faces, the order of humiliation. It wasn't anger, it was memory. Years ago, a doorwoman at a Milan trunk show had once whispered the same sentence, "You don't belong here." That voice had followed her for a decade, shaping every contract she signed, every boardroom she built. And now in Paris, it had found her again, wearing perfume and pearls. The PR woman leaned in her smile, too polished to hide the contempt. "Please don't make a scene. It's embarrassing for you." Elena met her eyes. Calm, precise. Embarrassment only exists when someone deserves the seat they're in. A few heads turned. Someone's phone camera clicked. The guards hesitated, uncertain now if this was security protocol or social suicide. "Ma'am, you'll need to stand one," said voice, flat, scripted. Elena rose slowly, movements deliberate, the sound of her heels slicing through the music, warming up backstage. She adjusted the strap of her dress, lifted her chin, and stepped aside, not defeated, just repositioned. At the end of the runway, the LED screens flickered to life with the brand's logo, Maison Duclair, ex Brooks Capital. The crowd gasped. The PR woman froze mid-step. The name Brooks was bold, unmistakable, glowing across 20 feet of digital glass. Elena's expression didn't change. She simply looked up at the projection, then back at the woman who'd tried to move her. "You should probably read the sponsor line before tearing up invitations." For the first time, the room felt unsure of itself. Models peeked from backstage, waiting for direction. The music stuttered once, as if even the speakers hesitated. Elena's earpiece clicked softly. Miss Brooks, came a whisper. "Protocol 8 is ready." She gave a barely perceptible nod. The PR woman's laughter faltered. "This Can't be right, but it was. Elena stepped forward, the glow of the runway painting her in white light. The show had begun, but not the one they expected. For a heartbeat, the whole room held its breath. The house lights shimmered against crystal walls, every reflection, a question none of them dared to ask: who is she? Elena didn't need to answer yet. She stood still as the first model stepped onto the runway, a blur of gold fabric cutting through the silence. But behind the glamour, whispers were spreading like perfume through a closed room. Brooks Capital. Wait, isn't that the investment group that saved this label last year? Then she's... Nobody finished the sentence. They didn't have to. The PR woman in gold, suddenly pale, turned toward the back of the room, searching for her manager. He was already on the phone, voice trembling. I think we made a mistake. Elena moved closer to the runway edge, where the air hummed with the rhythm of camera shutters. Every step of the models, every flick of fabric mirrored the tension around her. The fashion world was built on illusion. She'd built her fortune on exposing it. In her earpiece, Maya's voice came calm and deliberate. Sponsorship dashboard live. Your name's on every LED panel, ma'am. Do you want me to pull the secondary funding feed? Not yet, Elena murmured. Let them see first. Her tone was soft, but it carried. The guards who had tried to remove her moments ago shifted uneasily, stepping back into the crowd as if distance could erase memory. From the front row, a journalist whispered into her recorder. Unconfirmed, but it appears the woman removed from seating is actually Elena Brooks, CEO of Brooks Capital. The PR woman heard it. Her shoulders stiffened. She started forward, still clinging to a smile that no longer fit her face. Miss Brooks, I truly apologize. There must have been a mix-up. Your seat is right here. Elena looked at the empty chair, then at the nameplate beside it, reserved for executive partner. She didn't sit. No, keep it empty, she said quietly. Let the space remind you who was missing when you decided who mattered. The crowd went still again, the kind of silence that bruises pride. A camera flash caught her face, half in light, half in shadow. For a split second, she remembered being 23, standing outside another fashion show, watching through glass because the door staff hadn't believed her ticket was real. Back then, she'd promised herself, next time I'll own the room they keep me out of. Now that promise stood fulfilled under Parisian chandeliers. Elena turned her gaze, sweeping the rows of diamond collars and silk gowns. Continue the show, she told the stage director. But before the finale, tell the audience who paid for the lights. The director hesitated, then nodded slowly. The PR woman's lips parted, but no sound came. The orchestra swelled again, this time not for beauty, but for reckoning. The orchestra resumed, but it couldn't mask the tension pulsing through the room. Every violin note trembled against the weight of awareness. The once golden air of exclusivity had turned brittle like glass about to crack. Elena stood a few feet from the runway, her posture effortless yet commanding. She didn't have to raise her voice. Silence was doing the work for her. Around her, guests began whispering in languages money always understands: shock, curiosity, guilt. That's her, the investor. I saw her at the Monaco conference. She owns the lights, the cameras, the payroll. The PR woman clutched her clipboard like a shield. Please, Miss Brooks, if you could just return to your seat. You already gave it away, Elena said, her tones smooth as velvet. Now you can keep it. The gold gown woman flinched. Behind her, a model stumbled slightly on the catwalk, distracted by the tension slicing the air. The audience's laughter was gone, replaced by a current of unease. Up in the lighting booth, Maya's voice came again through the earpiece. Sponsor servers synced, ma'am. The press feed is live in 30 seconds. Would you like to issue the statement? Not yet, Elena replied softly. Let them feel the silence first. The music swelled again, pretending to ignore what everyone already knew, that the balance of power had shifted. From the second row, a white-haired editor whispered to her assistant, I've seen this before. Every decade, the industry finds a new way to insult the wrong person. The assistant looked up awed, and every time it takes one woman like her to reset the room. Elena's gaze swept the crowd, eyes landing briefly on a young designer in the back. Barely 20, skin the color of copper, expression caught between hope and fear. Their eyes met, and for a moment that designer saw not just a CEO but a mirror. A ripple of flashbulbs erupted as a journalist from Le Monde de Mode stood. Miss Brooks, can we confirm your sponsorship stake in Maison Duclair? Elena turned slightly, her profile caught in light. You don't need confirmation, she said. You need accountability. The words hit harder than any press release. The PR woman's phone buzzed in her trembling hand, a message from the brand's owner. Do nothing. She's the reason we're here. Backstage chaos bloomed quietly, stylists, whispering interns, crying phones, lighting up with live tweets number Brooks at the show already trending. Maya's voice returned crisp. Statement ready, ma'am. One line. Do you approve it? Read it? Effective immediately, Brooks Capital suspends its partnership with Maison Duclair until diversity and respect are more than runway themes. Elena smiled faintly. Approved. And as the orchestra reached its crescendo, every bulb above the runway dimmed one by one like eyes closing in shame. The music stopped mid-note. Not a fade, not a transition, just silence, hard and sudden. Gasps rippled through the audience as the chandeliers flickered once, then died, leaving only the pale light from a dozen camera screens. Someone whispered, "Is this part of the show?" It wasn't. Elena didn't move. She stood center floor, calm against the darkness she had summoned. Her black dress caught faint light from the runway LEDs still glowing along the floor like embers refusing to die. A stage manager's voice broke through the confusion. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a temporary power issue. Please remain seated." The lie was thin. Maya's voice in Elena's ear came steady, professional. Protocol 8, fully active. Power sequence is manual now. Media feeds redirected. The narrative belongs to you, ma'am. Elena tilted her chin slightly. Good, because this wasn't chaos, it was choreography. The PR woman in gold stumbled forward, panic overtaking poise. "Miss Brooks, please, this isn't necessary. We'll issue a statement, we'll fix everything." Elena turned to her eyes, cold under the dim glow. Fixing means you knew it was broken. The words hung like perfume and accusation in equal measure. Photographers, realizing what was unfolding, began shooting again, each flash briefly illuminating a room frozen between shame and fascination. Behind her, a model in a sweeping silver gown stopped mid-stride, unsure whether to continue. "Keep walking," Elena said quietly. The model obeyed. For the first time that night, the fashion felt honest, bare, stripped of spectacle. From the back, the editor from Le Mode rose. "Miss Brooks, is this protest or power?" Elena didn't flinch. Both. Because sometimes silence needs a microphone. The sentence rippled through the crowd like thunder wrapped in silk. A few guests clapped nervous, hesitant. Others followed until applause filled the void where the orchestra used to be. Maya's voice again quieter now. Press outlets requesting statement confirmation. "They're calling this the blackout of Paris." "Let them," Elena answered. "Every industry needs a reset." The lights flickered once more, then steadied into a soft white glow. No music, no runway cues, just her standing in the center of the world she had just rewritten. She looked to the PR woman now trembling near the exit. "You said I didn't belong in the front row," Elena said. "Now you don't belong in the room." No shouting, no triumph, just truth, clean and final. And as she walked away from the stage, the remaining cameras turned to follow the woman who had ended a fashion show, not with scandal, but with principle. Applause still echoed long after the spotlight steadied, but it wasn't celebration, it was the sound of reckoning. The audience didn't know whether to clap for the courage or the collapse. $1,000 perfume fog hung thick, mixing with the ozone scent of cooling lights. Elena stood near the edge of the runway, motionless. Every movement around her, the frantic PR whispers, the camera clicks, the nervous laughter was just noise beneath the silence she commanded. From the far aisle, the brand's creative director, Adrien Leroux, rushed forward. His tuxedo collar was crooked, his face pale. "Elena!" "I didn't know," he said breathlessly. "They told me it was a guest issue. You have to believe me." She turned to him, her voice calm enough to terrify. "Belief isn't the issue, Adrien. Culture is." He swallowed, hard eyes darting to the frozen PR team. "We'll make this right. A press apology, a diversity panel, whatever it takes. It takes listening," Elena said. "And tonight, everyone heard you loud and clear." A young intern, dark-skinned, barely 20, approached timidly, clutching a headset. "Miss Brooks, I was working backstage. I saw everything." "Thank you for not letting it slide." Elena's expression softened. "Don't thank me. Change it when it's your turn." Her phone vibrated. Maya's voice came through crisp news cycles live. "CNN Style, Vogue, BBC Fashion, they're running the clip. The blackout's global. You want the closing statement? Send it," Elena said. Within seconds, the giant LED screens, those same walls that once showcased couture, flickered back to life. White text on black background. Respect is not seasonal. Power is not borrowed. Representation is not a trend. Elena Brooks' gasps filled the venue. Phones rose like constellations. In that glow, she didn't look like a CEO or a protester. She looked like the mirror the industry had been avoiding. The PR woman in gold dropped her clipboard, her hands trembling. Adrian glanced toward her, then back to Elena. She'll be dismissed by morning. Don't, Elena replied. Firing her doesn't fix the room that built her confidence. The statement landed harder than any punishment could. Adrian lowered his gaze, ashamed. Outside, a low hum of reporters and flashing bulbs bled through the glass doors. Somewhere in the chaos, someone whispered, "She just rewrote Fashion Week." Elena took one last look at the runway, still perfect, waiting for something new to walk its length. End the event, she told Maya, and pull our funding tomorrow. All of it, every cent. Let them learn what silence costs. Then she turned toward the exit. The doors opened with a hiss of cold Parisian air, and as she stepped into the night, the first raindrop landed on her bare shoulder, soft, precise cleansing. Behind her, the lights of Fashion Week dimmed for good. The night air hit her like release cool, real, unfiltered. Behind her, the muffled chaos of the show still pulsed through the doors, heels clacking, reporters shouting, a luxury world trying to make sense of what it had just witnessed. Elena didn't look back. She stepped onto the marble steps of the Grand Palais, where flashes from the press barricade exploded like lightning across her skin. Every lens fought to capture her face, the calm after the storm. "Miss Brooks, did you plan the blackout? Are you still funding Maison Duclair? Was that activism or vengeance?" She didn't answer. Her silence was worth more than any quote they could twist. Instead, she raised a hand, once acknowledgement, not performance, and kept walking. The black car waiting at the curb gleamed under the street lamps. Maya stood beside it, phone in hand, expression composed but eyes burning with pride. "You made global headlines in 11 minutes, she said softly. "Number the blackout is trending in 6 languages. Elena offered a faint smile. "Good. Let it speak for itself." They entered the car. The door shut with a sound that felt final, like a curtain falling. Inside, the world was quiet again, just the hum of the city and the rhythm of rain on glass. Maya passed her a tablet. News feeds bloomed in the dark cabin. CEO shuts down Fashion Week in real time. Elena Brooks turns glamour into justice. The footage replayed the confrontation, the power cut the words that froze the industry. Elena watched in silence. Then, almost to herself, she whispered, "Funny how the same crowd that didn't see me now can't stop looking." Maya turned slightly. "Do you regret it?" Elena's reflection in the tinted window answered, first calm, certain, untouchable. "No, but I regret how normal it felt." The rain intensified, streaking the windows in molten silver. Paris blurred outside. Monuments, street lamps. The ghost of applause still echoing through the avenues. Her phone buzzed again. Adrian had texted, "The board wants to meet. They're afraid you'll pull the investment permanently." She typed back, "They should be." For a long moment, neither woman spoke. Then Maya said quietly, "You know they'll turn this into a PR campaign by morning." "Let them try," Elena replied. "Truth doesn't need styling." The car turned toward the Seine. Reflections of bridge lights rippled across the window like shattered gold. Elena leaned back, eyes half closed, finally breathing. Once years ago, she'd stood outside these same glass doors, uninvited, unseen, shivering in a borrowed coat, watching the glittering world she thought she'd never touch. Now that world was pausing because of her. She opened her eyes, gaze steady. "Maya," she said, "schedule a call with the other investors tomorrow. We're not ending the show." "Then what are we doing?" Elena's lips curved slightly. "We're rewriting it." Morning spilled through the hotel's floor to ceiling windows in soft gold bands. Paris was quiet again, deceptively so. Outside, headlines rotated across digital billboards like confessions the city couldn't stop repeating, the blackout of Paris. Elena Brooks, the woman who turned off the lights. Elena sat at a round glass table robe, wrapped loose hair undone, a tablet glowing in front of her. Maya stood nearby, already dressed, a phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, they've confirmed the board meeting for noon," Maya said. "And yes, she'll attend." She lowered her voice. "In person." Elena didn't look up from the screen. She was reading the public statements, one from the fashion house, another from the PR agency, both carefully crafted apologies that said everything except the truth. "They're sorry they got caught," she murmured. Maya frowned. "Do you want to respond publicly?" "No, not yet. Let them think the silence is forgiveness." A soft knock interrupted them. The door opened to reveal a young concierge, barely 25, face nervous, holding a bouquet of white orchids. "Miss Brooks, these arrived this morning." From the Minister of Culture. Elena nodded, eyes unreadable. "Leave them." As the door closed, Maya watched her boss exhale slowly. "You didn't sleep." "I did," Elena said. "Just not peacefully." She stood, crossing to the window. The Seine glittered below traffic moving like veins through the heart of a city still pretending nothing had changed. But everything had. Do you remember what they said in Milan 10 years ago? Elena asked quietly. About black designers being a trend, yes. Trends fade. I build foundations. She turned her reflection overlapping the skyline, one woman, two worlds. We're starting something new, Maya. A show owned entirely by us. Inclusive by design, not apology. Maya blinked. A rival event during Fashion Week, no, Elena said, smiling faintly. After it, when the noise dies down and the cameras are hungry again, we'll feed them truth. Her phone buzzed Adrian's name again. She let it ring. They'll beg for partnership, Maya said. And we'll listen, Elena replied, but only if they can say her name, the intern who stood up. The one who said, thank you. Find her. Maya nodded. Already did. She's from Dakar. Visa expires next month. Elena's jaw tightened. Then we'll sponsor her. She belongs here more than half the room last night. A pause. Rain started again outside. Gentle, rhythmic, almost cinematic. Elena tapped her tablet once, opening a blank document. At the top, she typed the name of the new show, Runway Reclaimed. Start the filings, she said. By next season, we're not guests in their world. They're guests in ours. And as thunder rolled far over the rooftops, it sounded less like weather and more like applause. Noon came dressed in tension. The boardroom of Brooks Capital's sleek glass walls, brushed steel table, and a skyline view that could humble kings was already full when Elena walked in. Executives stood halfway between fear and reverence, their voices dropping as the elevator doors closed behind her. She didn't rush. Power never did. Her heels struck the marble floor in a rhythm too deliberate to be vanity. Maya followed silently, tablet in hand. At the head of the table, Adrian Leroux rose. His designer composure was gone. His voice came tight. Elena, before we begin, I want to say what happened last night was unacceptable. The Maison's board has offered a formal apology and an invitation to discuss renewal terms. Elena placed her phone on the table screen face up. A still frame from the blackout of Paris looped silently the moment the lights went out, frozen mid-flash. You want renewal, she said. Tell me what you're renewing, our investment or your integrity. The room went still. An older man cleared his throat, his accent clipped London. Miss Brooks, while we all support your principles, we must consider financial exposure. Pulling the sponsorship caused significant losses overnight. Elena looked at him calm but surgical. Losses are temporary. Complicity is generational. Maya's fingers danced over the tablet. Graphs glowed to life behind her public sentiment data, trending hashtags, stock performance. Within 12 hours, she reported our brand reputation index rose 28%. New investor inquiries tripled. The market didn't punish the truth, it rewarded it. The man looked away. Someone else muttered, she turned a scandal into a brand. Elena ignored them. She turned to Adrian. What's the Maison's plan? They're proposing a joint statement, he said carefully. They want to frame the blackout as a collaborative artistic gesture. To honor diversity. Elena's lips curved slightly, somewhere between amusement and disdain. They erased a black woman on camera and called it art. Now they want to call accountability collaboration. Adrian's voice cracked. Please, Elena. The brand will collapse without your capital. Then let it collapse, she said. And from the rubble we'll build something that doesn't need to pretend it cares. Maya stepped forward, handing her a folder. Inside were preliminary designs, concept sketches for runway reclaimed models of every shade fabric made by small cooperatives, a runway built in an open square rather than a gated hall. Elena passed the folder around. This is our next investment, a show where no one needs a surname to sit in the front row. The executives looked from the sketches to her face. For the first time, the room didn't see a disruption, they saw direction. We'll host it right here in Paris, Elena said. Same week, different light. Silence filled the boardroom again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was ignition. And as she turned toward the window, the city stretched out beneath her like a runway waiting for its next show. 3 weeks later, Paris didn't look the same. The marble halls and gold-trimmed venues that once dictated beauty now whispered about something they couldn't control, her show. A gray dawn broke over Place Vendôme, where construction crews were laying down panels of mirrored glass across the open square. No velvet ropes, no VIP gates. Just a circle of light that would become the stage for Runway Reclaimed. Elena stood in a long coat, coffee in hand, watching the reflection of the city build itself around her. Maya stood beside her, checking messages that never stopped coming. Every outlet wants access, Maya said. CNN, Style Essence, even Le Mode. Good, Elena replied. Let them stand in line like everyone else. Behind them, the young intern from Dakar, her name was Aida, was crouched over a lighting rig, adjusting the angles herself. No spotlights, Aida said, voice firm. Natural light only. People should see people, not shadows. Elena smiled. Exactly. A cold wind swept through the square, carrying the hum of early traffic. But beneath it, there was something else, anticipation. For once, Fashion Week didn't belong to those who owned the buildings. It belonged to those who built them. Maya handed her a small folder. Partnership confirmations. 50 designers signed. 10 are first-generation immigrants. And the investors split evenly, half women, half men. Every continent represented. Elena nodded slowly, pride flickering in her eyes. That's not a show, she said. That's a message. By midday, the crew had assembled the final centerpiece, a single raised platform made of reclaimed wood engraved with one line. This space belongs to everyone they said didn't belong. Cameras circled, drones hovered. Someone asked from the press barricade, Miss Brooks, what makes this show different? Elena turned toward the mic. No one here needs permission to exist in elegance, she said. The world has mistaken exclusivity for excellence. We're changing that. Her words rippled through the square like wind through silk. Maya caught the moment on her tablet, the way the sun broke through clouds just as Elena finished speaking, scattering light across the mirrored floor. From a balcony nearby, Adrian watched silently. The man who once begged for her approval now wore humility like a borrowed suit. He whispered to his assistant. She didn't start a protest. She started an era. Elena looked over the construction one last time. Maya, she said softly, call the press tomorrow. The show opens with the same line that ended Paris Fashion Week. The blackout quote, yes, Elena smiled. But this time, the lights stay on. And as the sun climbed higher, its reflection lit every pane of glass around them, an open-air cathedral built not for fashion but for justice draped in style. The morning of the show arrived like a held breath. By 8 a.m., Place Vendôme was already crowded. Designers, journalists, students, tourists who'd heard the rumors. There were no security barriers, no invitation lists. Just the stage gleaming in sunlight, the mirrored floor reflecting faces instead of chandeliers. Elena arrived quietly, no entourage, no red carpet. The crowd noticed anyway. Cameras turned toward her not because she sought them, but because gravity always finds its center. Maya walked beside her, headset tucked behind one ear. Press feeds are synced. Live streams open. Vogue, Essence, and BBC are sharing the same link. Let them watch, Elena said softly. This time they'll see everything. The orchestra began to tune, not hidden behind curtains, but seated in full view. The sound was human, imperfect, alive. Aida signaled from backstage her first show as creative director. Elena nodded, pride quiet but fierce. As the first model stepped onto the runway, the crowd fell silent. No logos, no labels, just raw craftsmanship, skin tones in every hue, silhouettes that spoke louder than slogans. Children from local art schools had painted the backdrop, hands reaching toward light. The cameras captured it all. One journalist whispered into her mic. For the first time, Fashion Week doesn't feel exclusive. It feels collective. Halfway through the show, Maya's voice came through Elena's earpiece. CNN's asking if you'll speak after the finale. No, Elena said. The show is the speech. Across the plaza, Adrian LaRue watched from the crowd. The man who once defined her absence now stood in awe of her presence. He turned to the PR woman in gold, now humbled, clipboard gone, hands clasped in apology. Take notes, he murmured. This is what leadership looks like. Then came the finale. Instead of one model closing the show, 50 walked together, designers, tailors, interns, stagehands, all dressed in white. At their center, Aida carried a banner stitched in black thread. We are not trends. We are tradition evolving. The applause was thunderous, but Elena barely moved. She watched them with the stillness of someone who'd already imagined this moment years ago in the dark, outside a door that wouldn't open. When the last note of music faded, she stepped forward. No microphone, no prepared speech. Just her voice, steady, low, undeniable. Last month, I turned the lights off. Today, we turned them back on for everyone. The crowd erupted again, louder than before. Drones hovered above, capturing an image that would circle the world before nightfall. Elena Brooks, standing on the mirrored runway, sunlight breaking around her like absolution. Somewhere in the front row, a little girl clutched her mother's hand and whispered, "Mom, she looks like me." And that Elena knew was the only headline that mattered. When the applause finally faded, it left a silence so pure it felt sacred. The crowd didn't want to leave. They lingered, press students, even the skeptics drawn to the kind of quiet that only truth could earn. Elena stepped down from the runway, sunlight glinting off the mirrored panels. Aida was waiting near the edge, eyes shining, hands trembling from exhaustion and awe. "You did it," Aida said. "No," Elena replied, smiling. "We did it. That's the point." Reporters surged forward, microphones lifted like questions without answers. But Elena raised a hand, gently stopping them with a gesture that didn't need force. "There'll be no interviews today," she said. "The story's already been told. You just watched it walk the runway." Maya approached with her tablet. Every outlet's running the finale clip. The New York Times called it the show that changed the industry. "You've become the symbol of a new movement." Elena laughed softly. "Symbols fade. Systems endure. Let's fix the system." A gust of wind swept across the square, carrying loose petals from the floral installations. They swirled around her, catching in her hair, and on the mirrored floor, a perfect accident like the universe staging one last photograph. Adrian approached quietly, humility written across every step. "Elena, I came to say thank you, and I'm sorry." She looked at him not with anger, but with understanding earned the hard way. "You don't owe me sorry. You owe the next generation access. Build that and we're even." He nodded, eyes wet, and stepped back into the crowd. Maya whispered, "You realize you just dismantled Fashion Week and rebuilt it in a single morning?" "No," Elena said, turning toward the sunlight. "I just reminded them who built it in the first place." For a moment she closed her eyes. In that darkness she saw every door that had once closed on her hotel, lobbies, boardrooms, runways. They weren't memories anymore, they were blueprints. She opened her eyes again. The plaza gleamed, filled with faces that looked like possibility. Cameras caught her final words as she turned to leave. "Power isn't about owning the stage. It's about deciding who gets the light." The crowd erupted one last time, not in frenzy but in gratitude, the kind that comes when justice feels beautiful. As Elena walked away, the mirrored runway reflected her back to the world she had changed one step at a time, deliberate, unshaken, unstoppable. And somewhere beyond the applause, a girl in the crowd whispered to her friend, "That's what it looks like when silence wins." Elena didn't hear it, but she would have smiled, because this wasn't revenge, it was restoration. And as the sunlight reached the last panel of glass, the reflection it cast wasn't of power, it was of dignity finally seen.